Welcome to Anchored, Not Anxious. I'm Terri Hutchinson, your host. I'm continuing the monthly series, Why She Trusts God. And today I'm with Lisa Woolery. She is the author of The Widow's Comeback and The Widow's Comeback 365 Grief Calendar and Workbook. I will give you all her contact information and where to buy her books at the end of the show. But first, I want you to listen to Lisa's story and get to know her a bit. Lisa, I'm pleased to introduce you to the Anchored Not Anxious audience. Tell us about yourself and why you felt compelled to write this book.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I feel very welcome in a group that talks about anxiety. um, I am a widow. I was widowed 6 years ago. And as you can imagine, that causes a lot of anxiety. I was anxious about a lot of things. In my recovery, though, I've learned a little bit more about trusting God, and I've learned a little bit more about letting go of my anxiety. I wrote my book because I felt like probably about a year and a half after my husband died, I started to feel like a little tugging at my heartstrings for other widows. And I sort of felt like God was wanting me to be in community with other widows. And so I started realizing that my journals and my blog post could be fashioned into a memoir with the intent that I didn't want a widow to ever feel alone on her journey. I felt alone on my journey a lot because it's really hard to let people into what's going on with you if they haven't had like large grief. They haven't lost their husband. And I did read some books and memoirs from other widows, but I really felt a lot of them were candy coated. So, the beautiful thing about my memoir, and I'm doing quotes, some people think it's beautiful, some don't, is that I told the truth and I told about all the hairy warts, all the mistakes I made, because, like I said, I don't want a widow to feel alone or like she's grieving wrong.
Yeah, I don't know how it can be all that helpful if you're not addressing the pain and the hard and the difficult. So, yeah, and I just want you guys to know out there, I bought her book and the grief calendar because I just think that there's a lot to learn to know a widow's story. You can relate to a friend, a parent a little bit better. And while I am not a widow, I have friends who are, and they have shared their apprehensions, fears, worries about the future, even after being a widow for several years. So it seems the anxiety associated with being a widow ebbs and flows. Would you agree?
I agree very much so. And of course, at the beginning, it's flowing a lot. Every single thing creates anxiety because when you are married and you have spent however many years together, I met my husband when I was 14 and we had been married 28 years. So every aspect of my life included my husband. I didn't even know who I was without my husband, like as an individual. But every single thing changes from like who you're going to have dinner with, who are you going to tell your problems to, who's going to and join you on the things that you love to do, who's going to say good morning to you, who's going to give your kid a spanking when he needs it, all of these things. So it's like every single turn, like, can you even get money out of the bank? Because this happened to me that there were different laws in California where we opened our account than in Kansas when I needed money. and I couldn't get the money. And just every single thing at first, every corner you turn, it's anxiety. And then, of course, as you start to heal, the anxiety lessens and you learn how to deal with it and you solve problems and you learn how to live on your own. But even now, 6 years later, um, uh, actually on Saturday night, it was homecoming. And I did so well at the HOCO picture taking session with my
Mm.
daughter who's a junior, but I had to fight back tears at one point because her best friend and her best friend's dad did like this little funny pose and they're like, "Oh, we do it every year." And I had to just like force that my emotions down because I wanted to cry because my daughter doesn't get to do anything like that with her dad. So anxiety comes just all the time, even after 6 years. But I held it in because that was, I'm not gonna cry in front of people. But then I went and got in my car and cried. So I did let it out and I like had my appropriate way, like I didn't bottle it in or hold it in. I cried about it. I said a little prayer. Then I drove home and then the rest of the night was wonderful.
Aw. I can't even imagine it's like you think you've tackled everything and then another new situation pops up. And then now you've got to figure out how to navigate that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I think the 2, like, biggest hurricane scary things for me at first were finances and my kids. Luckily, my finances were like, I had finances. I
Mm.
just didn't have access to the finances for 3 months because, mm, um, the bank froze all of our assets until my husband's death certificate was ready, and due to some different circumstances, it took 3 months. So that was like, I still kind of live with some of the anxiety of not having any money for 3 months. I mean, like, luckily, thank God that it was only 3 months. Like, some people live with financial problems for years and years. But, I I didn't borrow any money from anyone. I just really scrimped and saved.
Wow.
Actually, I sold my car. I had a really fancy car. I sold it. I sold my husband's guns. He had a large gun collection, and that provided some money. But I was like scrimping and saving. The school gave us free lunches. They gave us this little backpack snack program that my kids would bring home, and there was like a mac and cheese and applesauce in it and stuff. So I actually used charity because
Oh,
it was offered to me and I needed it, and that was
yes.
wonderful. But I was able to unwind my finances and I'm fine now. I know some widows have to go back to work and do different jobs and different kinds of things. Blessedly, I don't and didn't have to do that. Then of course the other stressor was dealing with managing my grief and the grief of my 10 and 12-year olds who had just lost their dad. And we tried a grief group, but we got kicked out.
Oh, no.
I was like, "What, you've never dealt with an angry adolescent before?" My son was very angry. Of course he
Sure.
was. He lost like his everything. So we just sort of had to muddle through our grief and how we tackled our grief. And I actually kind of like how we did it. I just made the rule that we could say anything we wanted to as long as we were being kind. We could talk about anything. So that was one of the ways I did it. The other way that I dealt with my kids was that we all just ran ourselves tired. Like on Sunday nights, we'd go to the park. I would do my walk and it wasn't 10,000 steps, but 20,000 steps in the beginning, like just to tire our bodies and our minds out. Um, but just like now, 6 years later, some of those seeds that I planted in the beginning have really come to fruition in a different way that I don't even know if they they would have had Eric not died, and that is just the close, honest relationship that I have with my kids. And now, being 6 years out, I can actually see some blessings
Oh.
from Eric's death, and that's one of them is just that I have such a good relationship with my kids that I'm not sure what my relationship would be like if Eric was still alive.
Hmm. That's powerful just to be able to find the good in the grief, the separation. You know, my greatest anxiety is that my husband and I have no children. And I've realized that simply having children doesn't ensure they'll feel obligated to care for their parents.
Mhm.
I've witnessed that version.
Yeah.
And I've also witnessed the beauty of loving children, assisting their parent or in law who lost their life partner. So the fear of being alone is real for me. And my intolerance of uncertainty drives me to imagine a future as if I can prepare for it. You know, imagine a future without my husband and how I will take care of myself. And as I catch myself doing this, I I just try to remind myself I need to trust God with my future. So, how does your trust relationship with God meet the deep need of your heart?
Well, it's interesting because I've thought this many times and I've written it many times. I don't know, newsletters, my book, I don't know where I've written it, but I know I have. Is that it's amazing how much you can learn to trust God when you have nothing else.
Hmm.
And when Eric died, it felt like I had nothing else. And I was at such a low bottom place that my trust just accidentally started to grow because I started so low. And there's a song, a Christian song, like a worship song that's basically says, I know I can trust God because I've trusted him before.
Right.
And yes, and that is how I have grown so much in my faith. It's just like I remember those first devastating weeks just like lying in my bed before I got up because I would wake up and for a brief moment I would forget that Eric had died and
Mm.
everything felt okay and then I'm like, "Oh my gosh, Eric's dead." And then I would lie there and I would make myself think of some things to be grateful for. And sometimes it was like, "Thanks for my soft pillowcase." It was just so basic,
Mm.
but through being grateful, because I knew that I had to make myself be grateful for things, because I knew that that would help me grow. And I knew that I had things to be grateful for. I mean, I have a terrific life. I'm very blessed. And so I just made myself be grateful for things, and through being grateful, I could see the different ways that God was providing for me and that he was my safety net. And so I was able to trust him more for like the little things. And then that means that when the big things happen and the big things are resolved or the big things are coming, I have more faith in place to sort of anchor me for those big things.
Mm. Yeah. I like the line that you said about, I trusted you before, so I can trust you now. And I lean into that all the time. I try to tell people if you have that relationship with God, you build this faith history, this trust history. And, you know, what's in front of you looks so huge, but you have to look back and say, okay, he was with me then, he will be with me now, even
Mhm.
though it looks like that everything's a disaster, everything's fallen apart. I know that when we had talked off of the podcast, you had said that there were parts of it that were scary and comforting. And I was just wondering, how did you manage those scary feelings?
Well, I mean, even though I was scared, time kept going.
Yeah, I
So,
know.
so my fear was rooted in the moment, whereas your fear is rooted in the future.
Yeah.
So I was able to, well, and in some ways, I was afraid for my future too, because I didn't have Eric anymore. Like, all of my plans were obliterated. Like, every single thing that I had been planning for all of those years was gone. But by holding on to and seeing the little things that are happening and being resolved in different ways that I'm being blessed, just really helped reinforce how
Mm.
much God does love me. And I remember asking my pastor one time, why did Eric die? Was it like a punishment for me? And I always thought that I like, did I have was my family an idol? Because I just loved my family and my family life. But I know that my future is okay because I'm okay today. And I was afraid 6 years ago when Eric died,
Yeah,
but then I can look back and see all these hurdles that I've gone over. And if God was there helping me over all those hurdles then He's gonna be there helping me over the hurdles of my future too.
absolutely. And, um, I mean, not that you wanted to gain confidence that way, but the courage, the confidence that you have now. I mean, to get here and do everything that you've done, raise your kids and, you know, and you're not done yet, but
Yeah, the verdict's not out on that yet. I'm kidding.
yeah, I don't know if you're ever done
Yeah.
based on what I've heard out there. But I know that in your book you talk about well, tell us about the sign on the wall as you go down the stairs.
Okay. So when Eric died, I mean, I don't have like super good, like super consistent or whatever memories because like I was in and out of shock and but I do remember saying, God, I'm just I'm out. Like I'm gonna take a little break. And it's not like I didn't that I lost my faith at all. I was just like, God, I just need to regroup here. Like I can't even with you right now kind of thing.
Sure.
And I still went to church and church was so hard alone, but I wasn't like really engaging in the day to day. And then I remember I was coming down the stairs one day and my heel slipped and I fell on my bum. And as I closed my eyes and braced for like a broken tailbone or something, but I opened my eyes and I'm like, oh, I'm okay. And then my eyes directly looked at this little plaque that we had bought at Hobby Lobby. It had Jeremiah 29:11 on it. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for a hope and a future. And I went, "Oh, wow. This is part of a plan. Okay, God, thank you." Like, "Oh, I can deal with this now." And it was just like this huge revelation because when your husband dies, you've got like mountains of paperwork, you've got to clean out his things. You've got to figure out how you're going to get two kids to different schools. You have to figure out how you're going to do two back to school nights. You know, you like just there's so much that you're trying to figure out that like I was so busy in all of that that I just hadn't even considered that this devastation or like this sort of almost ending of my life could have been in God's plan.
Mm.
And then for him to like remind me of that in that moment was probably the moment that I was ready for it.
Yes.
And and then I could use that to build a little more confidence and courage from.
Mm. Well, I never get weary from hearing the unique ways that God speaks to someone precisely when they need it most.
Mhm.
And I know you had told me that the sign was actually meant for the children, but
Yes.
but it spoke loud and true to you in your heart on that day.
Yes, and what's funny is my husband and I bought it, and we put it there at the it was, like, at the base of the stairs, like, where you stop, like the little landing, and then you
Oh.
turn and go down the rest. Because we wanted them to see it every morning when they'd come downstairs, like, oh, I don't need to be afraid of my day today because God has plans for me. But as it turned out, I bought it for myself.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Well, I believe trusting God does not eliminate the hard days. No matter who is by your side, family or friends, there's still going to be hard days. And I follow you on Instagram and Facebook, and you posted on Instagram about hard days and planning ahead for these. And I know in your widow's grief calendar and workbook, you have journal questions for those kind of moments. And I just want to add that I think that this idea of yours of planning for the hard days applies to anyone who has suffered the loss of someone significant in their life. My mother's death was extremely painful for me on several levels, and I believe that that grief calendar would have helped me be more compassionate toward myself. So, Lisa, explain how the grief calendar and workbook can help someone move through the hard days and just the term emotional and mental turmoil.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you asked about it. And then, like, if you're not a widow, don't tune out. And I have thought about rebranding it because so many people have come to me and said, "Wow, I looked at this. I bought it for a friend, but it helped me through the death of my mom or whoever." So yes, it's very good for helping you cope with and recover from grief over the year. And you can use this grief calendar for more than 1 year too. And you don't have to have it starting the day after whoever died. You can just sort of pick it up when you pick it up. But basically, what I try to teach you to do is look at the month coming up and think about what your trigger days are. Is it the person you lost's birthday? Was it your anniversary? Is it some kind of a personal special day? And if it is, what are you going to do? And so I feel like when you plan what you might do, then you're taking away your worry because you don't have to worry, oh my gosh, it's just next week. The birthday is next week. What am I going to do? I'm not going to think about it. And then, like, that just makes your worry bigger. But if you instead think, okay, here comes this day. And then in the introduction of the calendar, I have a lot of ideas. So that sometimes helps too. Like, for example, we always have a birthday cake for my husband's birthday, and we do what we used to do, or what we still do for birthdays, which is we have birthday cake breakfast. So my son's at boarding school, but my daughter is still home, and so we sing happy birthday to dad and have the cake, and I usually get to blow out the candle with a wish. But what I'm doing is I'm trying to teach you to consider what the month has and plan for it. Even if you end up don't not doing it, that's okay because you've taken a lot of your worry off of your plate, a lot of the anxiety off of your plate because you have created a plan for it. And it also helps you plan and gives you some ideas for some of the traditional holidays too, like how you're going to get through Thanksgiving and Christmas and Valentine's Day and things like that. And then each month is blank, so you get to make it. And then behind each month, I have some exercises that I think are very on point that a lot of people don't like to talk about. For example, one of them that I have is like, what have your in-laws been like? Do they deserve to be in your life still? And just some things to think about to sort of break the routine if you need to break the routine or to consider do I need to break this routine of perhaps the in-laws or whatever? There's different sort of controversial things that I ask about. So, I feel like if somebody does this book for a year, then they're kind of in the habit of preparing themselves and thinking things through. And that'll just help with healing and moving forward.
Yeah, I would think that the time leading up, the anticipation amps up in a negative anticipation. And so
Mhm.
that plan may be able to help you prepare for at least prepare for the emotion. Say, okay, I know I'm going to feel this way. What am I going to do for myself?
Well, yeah, and I'm sure you've heard the like term or the theory like the body keeps the score. It's like it's a book. But it talks about how your body remembers things, but your mind is disconnected from it. So a lot of times when you're coming up upon a hard month, you start to feel in your body aches and pains or stomach ache or tension and anxiety, and you might not know why. But if you are being present with yourself and you're grieving and you're healing and you're thinking about the month, like using my calendar or something like that, then you oftentimes can identify why you're having that feeling.
Mm, that's so wise. I think it's going to be a great help to many people.
I hope so.
So the holidays are approaching.
Mhm.
Give an example of something that you've done in the past that helps you to take the, well, I don't know, you can take the sadness out, but just how, give us an idea of how you would approach a holiday.
Well, I think, first of all, you can't take the sadness out. It's gonna be there, and so you have to give yourself grace, not just at Christmas and Thanksgiving, but you have to give yourself grace every day. You're not gonna be the old you forever again, and you have to give yourself the grace to feel your feelings, and your feelings are okay. Whether your feeling is sadness or anger or whatever those feelings are that creep up, the feelings and the emotions aren't wrong. What's wrong is what you potentially do with them, you know? So it's okay to have feelings and give yourself grace to have the feelings. So I think that is one thing that's really important is know that the holidays are going to be filled with emotion and that's okay. But you can also exercise something that's so powerful yet so small. It is the word no. And you can exercise that if you want to because nobody understands your journey
Mhm.
like you do. And many people just want you to quote unquote get over it and have everything normal. So no one is really looking out for you the way you can look out for you. And so if you don't want to, I keep talking about the in-laws, but it's just an easy example.
Right.
Maybe you don't want to go to Thanksgiving at the in-laws anymore. Guess what? You can say, "No, thank you." And then I like to have, like, a little phrase that you, like, maybe write down on your hand. I'm kidding. That you so that you can remember it. "No, thank you. That's not what's good for me this year."
Yes.
And that's it. Then you can like, if someone's gonna yell at you about it, you can be like, "Oh, okay, bye-bye," and hang up. But you can say, "No, thank you. That's not what's good for me this year." And almost everyone's gonna accept that. So if you have something coming up that you really don't want to do, your body tells you you don't want to do it, and it just isn't good for you, don't do it. And then I'm going to say one more thing that
Okay.
I think is helpful for the holidays, and that is you can change things. Sometimes trying to keep a tradition in place is fruitless, and it's just hard and it causes everyone pain, especially yourself. So, for a few years, did teeny tiny Christmases. We had teeny tiny trees, like, each kid got to choose their own tree and decorate it because that's all I could do.
Right.
because how was I gonna get it on top of the car and bring it home?
Right.
How was I going to put it in the stand? And, like, all
Oh,
of these things that I, like, physically couldn't do. But I also just needed things to be a little different so that I wasn't just always remembering Eric. So maybe you want to make your holidays really small. Maybe you want to go to Mexico with your cousin, or maybe you want to go to your mom's house instead of your in-laws' house. Or like you can, like I said this earlier, you can disrupt things. And, like, sometimes disrupting the tradition or disrupting what's always been is going to be really powerful for you. And it can take away a lot of anxiety. Nothing is gonna take the sadness away, but you're gonna be sad, you're gonna be devastated, but you can take away anxiety by saying no to things that don't serve you.
yes. I mean, no. Yeah,
Totally.
I guess we heap this thing on ourselves like, well, that's what you expect of me, so I should probably expect it of myself, or we feel like we have to perform for others when in fact, all we want to do is just curl up on the bed and say, I just, I'm not doing this year.
Mhm,
And I know one year I didn't put up, it wasn't the year my mom died, I put up the Christmas tree, did everything, but Christmas was her favorite time of year. And the next year, I don't know why, but I was just overcome. And I was like, I'm not, even the thought of putting up the tree, right?
mhm,
Was painful. And I was pushing myself to do it. Well, this is what we do, right? But you don't have to do anything.
mhm.
So I think your advice is so wise. Gosh, how'd you get so wise?
Like a lot of hard knocks.
I know. That's the problem. That's the only way we get wisdom, it seems
I
like.
know. It is very true, and like I said earlier, I've been a widow 6 years, I can start to see some of the blessings coming through, and I'm a much more mellow person than I used to be.
Well, you are a delight. I have so enjoyed our conversation and this look into the widow's road to a comeback is inspiring. And I just thank you so much for agreeing to be on the podcast. So now I'm going to tell you how you can find Lisa. You can find her on Instagram at The Widow's Comeback and on Facebook. Is it on Facebook that you give them teeny things to think about to help with your grief awareness and healing? Or is that on? No, that's on Instagram, right?
Well, I'll just tell my secret. I post it to both Instagram and Facebook, and it's the same thing. So whichever you like. The only thing I don't do on Instagram, but I do on Facebook is Monday mornings I do live prayer.
Oh, yes. I've seen that post. And
Mhm.
just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, I figure that what could be better for widows than prayer?
Yeah.
So I choose a Bible verse and I try to apply it to widows and I just talk about that. And then I have a long list of widows that I pray for every week. And if somebody out there is a widow and wants to be on my list, you don't have to watch. I'll still pray for you. You can email me at lisa@thewidowscomeback.com. And it's only like 7 or so minutes. Pretty quick, but it's every Monday morning at 8 a.m. Central Time on my page, The Widows Come Back. But
You're
you can look at it anytime,
you're
because
just
it
a
stays there.
you're just an angel
Oh,
dressed in human clothes. All right.
well, thank you.
He has her website, thewidowscomeback.com, and that she offers a freebie there, principles you can embrace to help you move through grief. And then, of course, her Amazon author page is Lisa Woolery, and that's where you're going to find the Widow's Comeback memoir. and the grief calendar and workbook. And then soon, coming soon, she's going to publish a guided journal.
Yes.
Oh, I'm amazed by you and so proud of you.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for listening. Subscribe or follow the podcast so you don't miss an episode. Until next time.